And it's not just that they lost map control, but I mean, when you realize you're going down like that, I feel like you got to start making the tougher calls at some point. You got to go for the Hail Mary. But as we pointed out, and we got those picks and bans ready, they just kind of let Luminosity take the game away from them. And I feel like if that continues, even if they fix the draft, if they don't make those hard calls, then they're not going to be able to come back in.
Well, I think that part of the reason why eUnited is so hesitant to be the initiators and be the engagers themselves was draft-oriented. So if eUnited can go for something a little bit more aggressive or even take some aggression away from Luminosity, that's already a better start for them. Problem is, it's the exact same 4 bans from Luminosity and eUnited as game 1. LG still in that first pick position, and why would they take anything but RaDaToskr?
RaDaToskr has been looking excellent these last few weeks since he had his change. He has such impact with that semi-global presence. The Flurry of Acorns now a little bit more impactful when he goes in, but I mean, it's the stun, it's the knock-up from the ultimate that really let him have a big impact.
And now eUnited in this spot, they went for Terra and Artio last game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's Artio again for Benji. He played very, very well, but I'd be kind of surprised if eUnited go again for it. Oh, actually, it's Artio for LG. So even with a great game from them, I'm surprised that they decided to change it up and go for something different. If I'm at LG, I think I just insta-lock RaDaToskr right away.
Yeah, if I'm eUnited, I think all those positive things we just said about RaDaToskr, except now it could be Screammmmm who's the one enjoying it for him this time. So I wouldn't be surprised. Instead, electing to pull the Raijin away from Baskin, who had a good game on it last time.
Really like this. This gives Venenu some pressure in the mid lane. And where did LG really exert their pressure better than anywhere else in the early stages? In mid, onto Venenu. So giving him something a little bit more safe and a little bit more pressure in the early stages.
They do go with the Jing way, though, so now LG might be able to have their cake and eat it too with the Artio along with the RaDaToskr, which is still available for them. And they pick Skadi, a high pressure AD carry for BaRRaCCuDDa.
I really would like to see Mask get RaDaToskr again here for Luminosity. It wouldn't show your hand on as to where the Artio is going, if that's going to be going support for JeffHindla or solo for Aquarius. And while Baskin might want to get a priority pick right now in that mid lane to make sure that you can't pick up that sort of pressure mid laner again, maybe Baskin's God Pull is the call here.
Ganesha is going to be the one that's picked up here. So that's what the difference in the thought process was for eUnited this game. They instead ban the Rat. That lets Baskin get Ganesha through, though, which could very easily end up on BaRRaCCuDDa. I think likely now that we're seeing both Guardians, that's where it'll go. And Osiris picked for eUnited.
So that makes sense as to why it's kind of worked out the way it has. I like this Ganesha adjustment, though. Silences out that Raijin. Don't be surprised to see JeffHindla start mid lane and level your own first, which feels really bad because to level an ability that does 0 damage at level 1 usually doesn't work out for you. But if it can silence out that percussive storm from Raijin, United just can't clear the wave.
And Ganesha is, like you said, a good one to take over there too. Raijin, who has a lot of pressure in that early mid fight, that very first lane clear Raijin does so well at, and that's why oftentimes you see him able to rotate over and have a big impact on the jungle too, as a Muzen Cobb and now Terra get banned away for LG. So certainly he's someone that could be there in mid and let Skadi, who does so well on her own, have that solo farm.
I was kind of surprised to see the Terra ban from Luminosity. Ganesha so good into Terra, has it's such a good counter pick for that god, as well as that PolarBearMike just didn't really get to have an impact with the actual Terra kit in the last game.
That
Terra's Blessing always does something for you, but you didn't really feel that same pressure. Said it's going to be Xing Chen for PolarBearMike in the Guardian role. Ares ban makes sense here, especially if you're going to pick something like Awilix, which actually works really, really well here for Luminosity's draft.
And now the Serqet, so high pressure coming up from LG.
Minute.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Now they've got maybe Skadi mid.
This is too many assassins. There's something wrong here with Luminosity.
There's a pocket pick.
We'll see. I imagine that it could be Serqet or Awilix solo. And then No, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
It's got to be Skadi mid, and then Awilix or Serqet somewhere in the duo.
No, there's no way they don't give Skadi to BaRRaCCuDDa. Like, Barra's playing a hunter, so it's and Baskin's the one who wants to troll and play weird stuff anyways, right? So maybe it's Serqet, maybe it's Artio mid, Serqet.
Well, let's take a look. Baskin on the Awilix.
Awilix mid. Oh, of course. I mean, how could we not expect that? I mean, it's obvious.
We were silly for wondering where it was going to be going. I mean, it's obvious now that Baskin wants the Awilix because they're level level 1 on the Feather Step is so nuts, right? That's all it is. Yeah.
I guess this is just like Luminosity taking the strategy of getting early pressure and cranking that up to like 20. Like, we're going to pick one of the best level 1 assassins in mid just so that we can ensure that you don't get to fight us.
And it looks like we are going to be seeing everything else going about where we expected. Scream piloting that Naja. We didn't get too much of a chance to talk about. That was their last pick. Going to give him some really good synergy here with Venenu. If he's able to bring him crashing back down with his ultimate, so Venenu can land right on top of them with those Taiko drums. Aquarius already looking for a bit of poke there on the Benji. And we got 4 members grouping up over here in this jungle.
Raijin, Naja, not really my favorite combination in terms of ultimate pressure as Mask right on the Scream, and there's the blink in from Baskin looking for the Feather Step, waits out the purification beads, and Mask gonna get a first blood, but it's set up by the mid Awilix.
You said something about pressure, I think?
That's what it does. And that's the worst time to get first blood. It is right as minions spawn. If you get first blood before minions spawn, nah, who really cares? I'm not really worried about it. But right as minions spawn, now you lose a wave. Luckily for eUnited, they don't lose any of their buffs, but certainly had potential to do so.
And it looks like Scream is settling for those back harpies considering the pathing that he had to take. And as you said, BaRRaCCuDDa on this Skadi over here farming alone and dueling. This is an easy matchup for someone like a Skadi to take. As more pressure from Baskin here in mid. Good knock-up on the PolarBearMike. Would have probably rather that on Venenu, but still, they're the ones that are clearing so much faster with this Ganesha helping out.
Mask and Aquarius going for the fight. Horrific emblem used by eUnited, but Scream's still only level 1, so he's having a tough time. His Mask likely to fall. Benji's going to put eUnited on the board.
Good rotation in from PolarBearMike. Scream just barely squeaks away with not much health to his name. 3 members strong here now with Aquarius, Baskin, and JeffHindla to try and take down the fight, but Venenu's rotated in too, and he's ready to try and help out a little bit more. Aquarius is low.
Nice energy surge there, actually heals up Baskin and JeffHindla. Baskin still going aggressive 1v4, and he's going to set up Aquarius to find it.
Benji falls now too, but Baskin pays for it with his life. We're getting a huge fight over here in the Soul Link side, and still going. Aquarius finally able to make it out of there, and they end up backing off. So overall, the kills are 2 for 2, but this fight in particular, 2 for 1 in favor of eUnited.
Scream finally just gets to get his own speed buff. That's all he really wanted in that entire engagement, was to secure his own speed and hit level 2. Baskin going down to set up for another kill. Kind of unfortunate that neither of these first 2 kills that Baskin has set up for his team haven't gone to him. So the god that you want to get an early lead on to try and keep the pressure going in the mid lane, this mid Awilix hasn't gotten either of those, and as a result of that, it's Venenu who's a level up.
Now, how does Luminosity win with this comp if we're at like 45 minutes?
They don't. If it gets to 45 minutes, I don't think that they win, unless they're up, a million gold, or they're just kind of taking their time ending the game and trying to end the game a little bit faster by getting another kill on the Benji, who's very far behind now to Aquarius in the solo lane, about a level and a half.
And Mass, the one getting credit for that kill, now sitting at 2-1-0. So you really don't want to see, on the list of assassins, you don't want to have 2 in their kill count at 3 minutes. Serqet's pretty high up there, and now JeffHindla being joined over here by BaRRaCCuDDa as they continue to push out. PandaCat still solo, as we've been seeing PolarBearMike try and help out in the mid.
Now, Baskin needs to be careful into this Naja for Scream, because if he gets sashed, he's immediately just going to get hit by Windfire Wheels. There's no real recourse for Baskin, and that's where JeffHindla's protection is going to come in. You can silence out that ultimate before you could use the ultimate. The ultimate itself, CC immune, obviously, but with that combination, normally with Naja, if they haven't been hit by any CC for diminishing returns, you can sash, auto attack, ult, and it's guaranteed every time unless there's any CC immunity in the kit. Without Baskin having purification beads, it's going to be up to JeffHindla to silence out that follow-up ultimate off the auto attack.
And if I'm PolarBearMike, my whole goal right now is to make sure they can't keep going in on Venenu. So far, he's 1-0-0 on this Raijin. Despite all the action that's been happening around mid, solo, and jungle, he has not yet been the one that's ended up falling for it. So make sure you keep him going. Yeah, Benji might fall a little bit behind, but I trust him in the solo lane. Keep that mage, which is your big advantage that they don't have, healthy and ahead.
And that's exactly what Baskin was able to do in Game 1. Get ahead on Raijin and really run team fights because of it. Now, not a lot of knockups for Luminosity's Baskin on the Awilix this time, but really looking at JeffHindla as the only knockup. But with that Jing Wei and even Xing Chen, it's a couple leaps that you'll be able to pull out fairly easily without any sort of setup.
Those are really the only ones he'll be looking at, though. Might not want to pull in PolarBearMike. I'm not sure. It might be kind of doing the initiating for him, but certainly PandaCat, if you can shut him down, that would be a target that Baskin would be happy to get. But is it just pressure that makes this Awilix mid work for him? As PandaCat actually jumps in aggressively on the BaRRaCCuDDa, what is it that he wants in particular out of this Awilix?
He wants to fight early on, and he wants to get a lead and just become that insane ball of death that Awilix can kind of become when she gets an early game lead. I can't imagine that Luminosity is really looking forward to the team fight phase very much. They really do want to take outnumbered engagements, use that extra mobility that the Assassin has over the Mage to try and get Baskin into positions where Venenu can't match his rotations and try and take outnumbered fights. If eUnited can stall this game out and get to the 35-minute plus mark and just do 5-on-5 team fights, you'd have to imagine it goes in eUnited's favor.
Could be trouble for BaRRaCCuDDa. Beads already forced out, but he's able to escape. PolarBearMike throwing Baskin away from the team fight and trying to help push JeffHindla away, so BaRRaCCuDDa makes it out thanks to a strong rotation from Jeff and Baskin.
Unfortunate there for Baskin because he blinked right onto a persistent gust as Scream gets jumped on in the mid lane, and Mask answers the ultimate with an ultimate of his own, hops on top, and gets the kill.
Venenu, though, is up on those Taiko drums, pulls Mask right back in, able to clean up that kill. But here's that knockup we were talking about. PolarBearMike might be in trouble, and he is. Baskin now gets his first kill of the game. I'm sure he's happy as Mask is 3-2-0.
Nice play there by Mask to get that solo kill onto Scream, and then but an excellent job by Venenu in response to get that solo kill, utilizing the multiple instances of those Taiko drums to taunt Mask back in and then guarantee the kill shot with the full damage shot of Taiko drums. But that's what you expect, is Baskin being able to clean up and do a big chunk of damage. He's top of the player damage charts right now. The two mid-mages, well, mid-players, I should say, on top of the player damage charts in this one.
And that's what's going to make Mask so scary. We saw the perfect example of it in this last engagement. If he catches someone not even out of position, just alone, a rotation through his skills is enough to get a kill, which we saw him do. Maybe a couple in-hands were needed at the end to clean it up, but he takes care of Scream, and now he's gotten to the point where he's ahead of him, and Aquarius is ahead of Benji. Still for that pre-10-minute mark, I want to see him start looking for some invades.
I really like this decision from Scream to go for the Talaria boots on the Najah jungle. Najah can proc these very easily with the ring toss. You don't have to be particularly close, and can make use of that extra HP 5, the extra movement speed out of combat. Those things can be very, very helpful for Najah. And with Scream being behind, this is a great opportunity for him to use those Talaria boots passive and just kind of proc some extra gold to try and catch himself up.
We keep talking, too, about how Luminosity is going to really struggle later on in the game. They do have BaRRaCCuDDa on this Skadi. She can be a real nightmare once she gets that full build online, especially if BaRRaCCuDDa can get even a little bit ahead of PandaCat and have more of an impact than he can on that Jing way. So it might be, let's use Mask, Baskin, and JeffHindla to get ahead early and try and set up BaRRaCCuDDa to clean things out if we need to later.
Look, Skadi's a nightmare all game long. She could have no items. As long as she got a point in permafrost, miss me with that. But BaRRaCCuDDa can absolutely be that late game hyper carry for LG. Now, it's not going to be the same big crit bursts of damage that PandaCat's going to be putting out. It's more control with permafrost. It's locking people down with the root on the ultimate, and it's just being that poke factor and allowing these double assassins between Awilix and Serqet to get in and finish off a low health target for you.
Lowering the kill threshold, just like you're saying. Mask just barely able to avoid that sash in the mid lane, so he'll be all right with that one, able to skate out. But we talked about how BaRRaCCuDDa might be the late game carry for him. He's actually going with a defensive item real early on here in his build.
That's because he knows he doesn't have to do damage right now because he's got a Serqet and Awilix on his team. I mean, they're going to do plenty of damage. Even Ganesha in the early stages. That Turn of Fate, his first ability, is really, really good at putting out team fight damage, because not only does it do damage to the opposition, and a large chunk of it at that, but it increases the damage that your teammates are doing around you. So BaRRaCCuDDa doesn't need to build as much power, because as long as JeffHindla's nearby, and he's going to be nearby, then that will boost up his damage numbers. Plus, he's got two assassins in the early game who can 100-0 people on their own.
Waiting around these mid-harpies to respawn are eUnited. Only the lone elephant here, though, to try and slow him down. Actually, he drops down the Dharma Pillars because Mask is rotating in the back. Venenu has to jump out right away, had his beads forced out. PolarBearMike trying to pull Mask back in, but Mask is trying to go in on Scream one more time. BaRRaCCuDDa's here. Sprint is out. PandaCat has to ult away. Scream's the one that's very low. Unable to clean it up, though.
Very low. Scream just just able to escape the clutches of Mask. A lot of ultimates used, a lot of relics as well as Benji has to ult away. He's been getting bullied out heavily by this Artio.
Artio having a good time over there is Aquarius up against Benji. And that was a talking point for us going into this one. How well would Aquarius fare in the actual laning phase? We know his team fighting's okay, but literally in the lane against his opponent, how can he hang? And he's doing fine thanks to some early help up against Benji.
Both games, LG kind of made sure that Aquarius was going to be okay with Mask getting a lead and putting Screammmmm behind on that right-hand side. And that isn't to say that they don't have faith in Aquarius's laning phase, but if you know you can get your rookie solo laner a lead against the best solo laner in North America, why wouldn't you? And Aquarius has done a great job of not only holding on to a lead that is given to him, but also exploiting it and trying to push it even farther.
And we saw them go up and do the invade we're talking about as well. The blue buff now taken away from Benji. Not tremendously important for an Osiris, especially this far into the game now as we pass that 10-minute mark, but it's some more farms, some more gold you're able to take away. As Luminosity, you're only up about 1,000 gold or so with this early game comp.
You would, if you're Luminosity, you probably wanted at least another 1,000 gold on top of this, maybe 500 in order to feel like you're where you want to be with gold. Now, with experience, they're probably pretty comfortable with where they are. About 2,000 experience, a couple level leads on important characters like the Artio, like the Awilix in the mid lane for Baskin. So not an awful look for Luminosity, but if you would have told them they'd only have this much of a lead at this stage, they might not have gone for this sort of comp.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time you say that mid lane Awilix, it
That's
triggers
why I
me a
always
little
say
bit
it.
over here.
Whenever I say Awilix, I always make sure to say mid lane Awilix.
Gotta get my head right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, because I know in the later stages, one of us is gonna say Baskin's gonna die, and it's gonna be like, oh, the jungler falls, and we'll be like, no, it's actually the mid laner. It's just playing an assassin.
Actually, the mid laner. Luminosity grouping up here to just get their own speed buff this time. Still not any kind of invade timers on eUnited side of the speed buff, but they got that blue one, so that could be something they choose to go with. Venenu picking up the Doom Orb here, and that's something we see a little bit more of. There's a couple options if you want a lot of early game power, but this lets you get some mobility to go along with it.
And just trying to boost up that damage to be relevant like Baskin and Mask are going to be in the early game. I mean, Baskin's going to be doing more damage than Ven without it.
It looks like it is. Only JeffHindla's here. Gold Fury already getting burned. PolarBearMike keeping him away, as is those Taiko drums. Venenu gets credit for slaying it, and that's a big win for eUnited to slow down the pressure coming out from Luminosity. Now they're actually up in gold or eUnited.
That's a really big Gold Fury for sure. Just trying to keep down these early game assassins for Luminosity and getting some extra gold for Screammmmm, who's still behind, for Benji, who's a little bit behind as well. But both of these players starting to catch up a little bit in their respective roles.
And I'm wondering if that might even be another potential weakness of this comp for Luminosity. I don't doubt that they'll have damage onto these targets, but their ability to steal it away won't be nearly as strong as if maybe you had like a final judgment.
Exactly. You don't have that big burst of objective secure. And even if they did, though, JeffHindla's the only one there because of some ill-timed backs from Luminosity.
But I mean, that gives eUnited a little more feeling more comfortable to get it started up, right? I mean, even if they show up, how do they stop it? As now they got them locked down those Dharmic pillars. PolarBearMike takes way more damage than he bargained for, and Mask cleans it up.
And he even is so nice to spread that poison to Benji and make sure that he puts a little bit more damage onto him as Screammmmm and eUnited lose their blue buff yet again. And there's the blink in from Baskin, who using early purification beads. Big damage on the Screammmmm.
And that's Mask getting another kill. Screammmmm falls. Benji might be in trouble under the lockdown from Aquarius, but it's not enough. He gets back under that tier 2 tower, which, because the tier 1's already fallen over here, and they're not ready to push in. Venenu, though, looping in, as is PandaCat.
Panda looking for Baskin, but just couldn't quite find the damage. Even BaRRaCCuDDa's here, but with this many members here for Luminosity and them having the extra life bar, the extra damage right now, Portal Demon is a really smart call.
And this is what Luminosity have to do, especially after just giving up that Gold Fury for free. They got to come over here and put pressure on like they do on the screen here just now. Now they'll be able to take out the Portal Demon as Aquarius continues to zone out 4 members on this Artio. Now taking a little more damage than he expected, when the Rage of Steel throws him back into the Taiko drums from Venenu. Maybe a little more than they needed, but they lock him down.
Good choice by Mask. I thought he was going to jump in there with that ambush, but Aquarius is dead no matter what Mask wants to do there, because eUnited expend 2 ultimates in order to get it, but because of how much time eUnited spent trying to defend on the right-hand side, Baskin gets a free red buff invade on the left. A little bit unfortunate timing for him that purple buff wasn't up as well, but may have ended up being a blessing in disguise, because if he's invading that purple where PandaCat and Scream come knocking without purification beads, that's not a good look for him.
Baskin has to make sure he continues to do this. This is what the two assassins can do that a mid laner couldn't for you, is stretch the jungle part of the map. They can invade so much easier. So as long as he continues to do that, they'll continue to see a little bit more success with it. But eUnited are hanging real close with him despite the 7-4 kill margin. The gold lead only about 300 to 400. As we said, the experience lead is still in Luminosity's favor, but even that's getting a little more normalized.
Interesting that Venenu, again, goes for the Magi's Blessing. Seems to really, really like this item. Kind of his own version of EU's Hide of the Urchin.
Which I know you
build.
love, yeah.
Well, sometimes. In the right situation, I think it can be phenomenal. I think I would have rather seen Ven go for a Dynasty Plate Helm in this matchup, trying to get some extra physical protection for cheap, as well as continuing to upgrade that damage. Now, that does leave him more vulnerable to the double blinks of the two assassins between Serqet and Awilix, so I understand his thought process behind the Magi's Blessing, but I think that I would have rather seen him go for just some outright cheap physical protection that can help him out, even if he does get jumped on.
Now, I'm still obsessed with BaRRaCCuDDa's build right now. It really feels like a Scream is once again under aggression from Mask. BaRRaCCuDDa's here to lock him down. Mask gets credit for that. He's up 6-2-0.
0-4-3, and again, this is the biggest difference in this game for eUnited is not just this game, but this set, is that Mask has outperformed Scream.
Yeah.
And Scream has looked like the best jungler in North America all split long. Today, the only day where he doesn't look like that player. And that is, while eUnited still, in their fans, should be very excited for LAN and should still feel like they've got a really good chance to be one of the best teams there, if not the best team there. I really think they can compete with Dignitas and Obey. They need to have Scream firing on all cylinders, because he does so much for this team.
Trouble on this right side. Jungle, Whirlwind of Regis Steel throws Aquarius, and JeffHindla back into trouble. PandaCat follows up immediately with his ultimate. Venenu even taunting back in JeffHindla. Baskin also has to retreat from the damage from Benji. JeffHindla still not safe though. Venenu is here, PandaCat's here, Scream's here, and JeffHindla's no longer here. He goes back to base. 2 quick kills reunited, but Benji falls in return.
Big plays on the right side by Luminosity to actually kill Benji, who ulted into the tower after Mask, but oh, this is such a smart call from eUnited. BaRRaCCuDDa, the only one healthy enough to try and step in and contest, but I don't think he's going to get there in time.
BaRRaCCuDDa's here, BaRRaCCuDDa is here, BaRRaCCuDDa does not steal it away. He does claim Scream's life, but PandaCat secures the objective. BaRRaCCuDDa now looking for some of the trades, but the very low Venenu is at the back hiding out. Mask falls, BaRRaCCuDDa falls, eUnited.
Man.
This comes up big.
Baskin just isn't going to be able to clean that one up either. Great body blocks, great teamwork from PolarBearMike and PandaCat to save the life of Venenu, who was 1 auto away from falling. Love the idea from BaRRaCCuDDa. Gotta go in and stick your nose in there and try and seal away that fire giant, but just a better call from eUnited. Now, this game that looked like it was going to go Luminosity's way, it's eUnited not only in the lead, but 3 members with Fire Giant.
In the lead, 3 members with Fire Giant with a comp that they got to think is going to do a lot better late too. Now the call is to go start up gold. Fury, only Baskin's here, and that's not a typical mid laner that's looking at it. He's on Awilix, so it doesn't really have any say on it. Gold Fury falls in favor of eUnited. Now they're the ones up 2,000 gold, despite being down a couple kills.
And this is the next chapter. If eUnited win this game, this is the next chapter for Venenu, in my mind, in his career, where he's moved to the mid lane, he's looked very good, and he's on a top team, and he's a great role player for them. He fills a lot of different team compositions for them. He's got a versatile god pool, and he's incredibly reliable. But he's not that big name carry guy. Venenu is carrying this game for eUnited. He's 5-0-2. He's putting out plenty of damage. PolarBearMike is also having a phenomenal game on the Xing Chen.
Yes. He's
set up for Venenu multiple times with that XC ultimate. But Venenu, this could be his first opportunity to really step into the limelight and take the game by the reins and say, I'm going to win this one for my team, when my right side of the map that usually dominates for us is losing, and losing fairly badly. So this could be the next kind of stage in Venenu's pro career, its maturation process.
And I've been wanting to ask here, as you said, Venenu now showing that he can hang around. Benji, though, once again in a lot of trouble. That right-hand side of the map is not going to be the win condition for eUnited this time. PolarBearMike has to jump away from Aquarius' damage, and the Portal Demon's here if LG want to look at it.
Baskin in a lot of trouble in mid because Venenu's putting out that damage. Could go in, and he will with the purification bead. Still looking for it, but he's putting himself in a bad spot.
Big taunt, though, comes out. That's going to slow down the aggression. Didn't have any more damage. PolarBearMike does help clean up Mask, but BaRRaCCuDDa's here. He takes out Venenu. Good satch in from Screammmmm. Sets up the damage to take down the AD carry from Luminosity. Up into the air goes the bear, and landing down into a whole lot of trouble.
Knockup was there for PandaCat. Aquarius going to get cleaned up by Panda as well. Second kill in the game for him. The United still 2 members of the Fire Giant. They push down the middle. T1 looks like tier 2 is in a lot of trouble as well.
Did you like that? Up into the air goes the bear?
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
I mean, no, cameraman, I liked it. No one asked you. John asked me.
Yeah, I asked him. You're on the camera though, right? You shook it because you like it, or?
No,
Oh, okay.
I can't work that camera.
I don't know how things work here. I'm brand new. Baskin though, on this mid lane of Awilix, 2-1 and 6. How you feel about his impact so far?
He made the impact in the early game. I just, it's so risky. I would rather see Mask take the Awilix and have Baskin even play something like when Wolfie played Isis yesterday. I mean, that to me,
I like Isis.
If you're really about getting mid-lane pressure and being able to fight in the early stages, you really think Awilix is the best guy to do that, and I don't necessarily disagree with that thought process. Put it in the jungle. And Mask, don't get me wrong, has done so much in this game. I mean,
yes.
He's top of his team in player damage. He's 7-4 and 3 on this Serqet, and he's been having a phenomenal game. But Mask is so versatile that I feel like he could do the exact same thing on the Awilix and still be successful. Luminosity this felt a little bit forced for me.
And I've been meaning to ask you about this BaRRaCCuDDa build all game, but we haven't had a chance. It feels to me, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but this doesn't feel like a win right now thing. That feels like a late game type build BaRRaCCuDDa's working with. Did they see this game going late?
Yeah, this is like a BaRRaCCuDDa kind of covering the bases on if we don't get a lead early, I need to be able to carry in the late and be able to absorb cooldowns in the mid to late. And again, it was relying on the damage that Serqet and Awilix were going to be putting out in the early to mid game to carry BaRRaCCuDDa through where he didn't have any damage initially. But I feel like Luminosity, if they're going to draft this sort of composition and play this sort of style, they should just go all in. I mean,
yes.
They should just go straight for damage. Let's just win right now and not worry about the later game, because if it gets there, we're probably in trouble anyways.
Benji might be in trouble in the mid, and he is in trouble. Baskin takes that kill with a lot of help coming out from Mask as well. PandaCat and PolarBearMike going at the 2v2 against BaRRaCCuDDa and JeffHindla, and they're winning so far. Aegis comes out from PandaCat, but they've got some help coming in. Mask is here. Aegis comes out now from PandaCat to keep him alive, but Screammmmm falls again to Baskin.
And it's Aquarius and Baskin just doing it all on the backside. Venenu in a lot of trouble. Feather Step doesn't quite finish him off. He's very, very low, but no one else from Luminosity can close the gap.
They got to get Venenu here. That's the most important target on eUnited. He manages to squeak away. Now Aquarius under a lot of pressure. PandaCat cleaning that one up. Mask comes in. He's very low. He jumps away. PandaCat, I hardly knew ye. He falls. Baskin gets that one. So Venenu and PolarBearMike have to leave, and Luminosity finally showing what this comp can do.
Mask just jumped in to PandaCat twice with like 300 HP or less both times.
I feel like he was low that whole engagement.
And got away with it both times. And got PandaCat's Aegis the first time, gets him killed the second time. Mask is absolutely one of the top junglers in North America and looking like he might just be the best jungler in North America here in this set.
Playing this Serqet exceptionally well. Baskin also having a big impact on this Awilix too at that 5-1 and 6 mark. So now they're showing a little bit of what this can still fight late game if the team fight's kind of broken apart. I am a little worried though if they have another Fire Giant dance, if they can make the same thing happen.
That's what Luminosity really needs, is to spread out eUnited and fight them in 2v2 and 3v3 little mini engagements.
Pulling in PolarBearMike though. Dharmic Pillars come out from JeffHindla. Whirlwind and Wade and Steel to try and throw him away, but PolarBearMike cannot handle the Dharmic Pillars. He gets taken down. Screammmmm isolates Baskin though. It takes him up into the air, but this does mean a moment where Benji has to fight alone. Benji is okay with doing it though. Thorns are enough. PandaCat cleans up Baskin.
Benji handling Aquarius and Mask on the backside. Mask no ultimate as Venenu gonna taunt in Aquarius, but that's not the guy you really want to bring to your team. He's a pretty healthy bear and more than willing to sit in the midst of that team fight.
I think 1 for 1 there is good for eUnited because Luminosity were about to take down that Fire Giant. BaRRaCCuDDa now with that Titan's Bane was doing plenty of damage to it, had it down to almost half health. PolarBearMike, though, traded for Baskin, who's a slightly more valuable target.
Without a doubt, you'd much rather trade your support for the enemy mid laner than the other way around. And Baskin just had to use the purification beads a little bit earlier than he wanted to, which meant that as soon as Scream found that sash, it was a guaranteed ultimate. And I really like the build that Scream has gone for after falling behind. He's really lacking in penetration, don't get me wrong, but trying to get a little bit of some cheap items. Heartseeker, not particularly expensive, has a little bit of pen and movement speed and kind of accentuates that poke that we were talking about he wants to get. Gladiator Shield, very cheap and gives you good stats. Void Shield, fairly inexpensive and gives him some defense and strips away the magical or the physical protection of the opposition. Good build here coming out of Scream.
And catching out Mask in that last fight was so important off the, it seemed like almost max distance sash that he hit him with. That was the chance for Luminosity to swing the momentum. Maybe not the gold, maybe not the experience, but the momentum of the match if they steal away that Fire Giant in that moment. Instead, they make it a 1 for 1 and slow down all their aggression. Now they're gonna have to try and win the 5v5 fight. Benji caught out getting knocked up, but he's a real takey target. PandaCat comes in and blows up Mask, no problem. PandaCat gonna have to try and reposition. BaRRaCCuDDa now is gonna be the target. A gets to keep him alive for the moment, but only the moment. PandaCat cleans him up, and now he looks for JeffHindla, who gets to lead a PandaCat with a triple here. He's going off.
Where did Mask go? All of a sudden, he just got blown up by PandaCat. Scream looking for the kill onto Aquarius as Baskin is all the way back in base. Aquarius, the only one anywhere close to eUnited on the map. Venenu and PandaCat, they're going to finish off Fire Giant as the rest of eUnited try and bring down the solo lane bear.
And I can't talk enough about how important the defense against the Fire Giant was. That was the last chance, I feel like, for this Luminosity comp to swing things back in their favor. Scream coming up big for him in that engagement, as did PolarBearMike. Now they're the ones with the Fire Giant on 5 members. T2 Tower in right falls. 3 members of Luminosity respawning, but eUnited are firmly in control. 10K gold up.
And Luminosity looking to pick off Benji at the beginning of that engagement has worked for them. And in the last few engagements even it's not just been early game where they've been able to pick on Benji, it has been the mid to late game as well. But in the mid lane, the last time Benji got picked off, he was all alone. That time, isolated, yes, but not alone, and PandaCat's there to support him, and I don't know if he got 3 straight crits on the Mask, just relying on explosive bolts, or what happened, but Mask was there and gone in the blink of an eye, and then PandaCat doesn't really have to worry about the pressure from these assassins from Luminosity quite as much.
He gets to just free cast in the back, or at least shoot those in hands out for free, and they destroy the team fight. This late game Jing Wei, we talked about what Skadi would be able to do, but PandaCat 7-1-6 now, fully slotted out with that Kin size helping to shred through any healthier targets that he meets. And now he's going to be a real problem for Luminosity to try and deal with, as Mask and Baskin have not gone any kind of defensive route here. They're just trying to do damage.
And again, for me, this game, the takeaway from eUnited is that they don't need to win the right side of the map in order to win. And while I had faith that that was the case, you kind of need them to prove it. And you need to see PandaCat, who has carried games so far this split, but I need to see Venenu fill that role as well. And those have been the two, really the right side of the left side of the map entirely. PolarBearMike, Venenu, and PandaCat have been the carries this game. I mean, Scream and Benji are combined 2-11. That's not really what you're looking for out of 2 of your best players.
And we've seen this before, too, as Mask gets the bead forced out the middle by PolarBearMike. That's a big win for him. PandaCat has felt like he hasn't really had a chance to show that he's a high-level AD carry. Well, this is his game. He's showing up here now along with Venenu, as you said, as PolarBearMike pushes in. Aquarius trying to root him out. Dharmic Pillars comes out, too. Mask trying to lock PandaCat down, but the beads are enough for him to move away. Aquarius gets thrown back into the damage from Venenu. That's not the preferred target, as PandaCat can't fight through the thorns, and Baskin's looping around through the back.
Looking for PandaCat, but with that double lifesteal, it's not going to take him long to regen quickly. Fire Giants are staying on top of that. This could just be a slight disengage from eUnited and just wait until PandaCat's healthy again, which is just 1 purple buff away.
Aquarius came up big in that defense for Luminosity. The Thorns was way too much for Venenu and PandaCat to keep fighting through. Now, though, they're looking to regroup to try and push one more time. They need a minion wave here to soak up some of this aggro so it doesn't have to all go on to PolarBearMike. That way they can push on in. Now is the call. PolarBearMike flips up Aquarius. PandaCat, though, just looking for shots onto the Phoenix. Over on the side, Baskin looking to jump in one more time. Does get the knock up on the PandaCat, and the ultimate pulls in nobody. I think it's a little bit too far away. Now Scream goes in on the BaRRaCCuDDa as the beads. The Aegis comes out for him as well to keep him alive for just the moment. But that Phoenix on the left has fallen, and so has Mask.
so unfortunate for Baskin. Just, you never know how much Awilix she's played. That max range knockup is just a little bit too far for the gravity surge pull. That could have been the team fight turner because PandaCat didn't have beads, but now he's in trouble because he's knocked up. Aegis saves him for the moment, and Airstrike gets him away.
It's just long enough for him to get out of there. PolarBearMike doesn't eventually clean up Baskin. Aquarius looking very low too. Does try and get the heal off, but Scream cleans up JeffHindla. Only Aquarius, not even Aquarius, only BaRRaCCuDDa standing now, and he's contemplating the flags on the wall as eUnited come in to split the set up against Luminosity.
BaRRa can't even bear to watch because his bear is dead, and so are Luminosity's hopes of getting top seed in North America. eUnited only drop one game, all split long. They'll be your top seed going to Super Regionals.
And if the only game you drop is up against BaRRaCCuDDa and the rest of Luminosity, I don't think you're feeling too bad going into Super Regionals. eUnited looking like the top card in North America.
Really, really close idea from Luminosity, and I think that with a little bit more practice potentially, that could have been enough to put that composition over the edge. A little bit curious that they decided to break it out now in this sort of situation where they're one game away from qualifying as the top seed, and they didn't necessarily need to bring it out. That could have been a pocket strategy to save for land because they had just played their regular game and really dominated eUnited for game one. Decided they wanted to go with something different. Almost worked out, but eUnited with a quick fire giant call and Venenu and PandaCat carrying that set for eUnited for sure.
It especially seemed a little bit weird based on the way eUnited played the first game. If eUnited are going to play a really patient, safe, careful game, then I don't know if you want to go all in with that assassin comp because they seemed fine to try and take you later on in the game, and it got to that point, like we said, where eUnited were just too much for LG to try and fight into.
Either way, I mean, in both of these teams, it's no surprise to me that it comes out as a split because these two teams are by far the best in North America. It's eUnited, it's LG, and then it's a significant gap before we see Space Station or Trifecta.
And that's the main difference between North America and EU right now. The top of North America is a little bit shallower, but we do have a lot to talk about in these last two sets for you, so that's why we got Taco and Ron on the desk.
Thank you guys so much. And yeah, that actually already a couple of really fun sets today and a couple of really interesting ones. Yeah, I know. Before we get too far into it, I got to go ahead and take a look at these standings just to see where all of these teams are meshed up right now. And as you can tell, it is in fact eUnited and Luminosity top of the scoreline. And yeah, pretty significant gap as far as the points are concerned. Not too sure how big that gap is though in regards to the actual competition in North America.
Well, as we just saw, apparently either of these teams could take a game off each other just back and forth. And going into these games, you know, against EU and that kind of thing, I think they could, you know, make some waves.
There's certainly still a lot of leeway and a lot of potential with all of these teams in North America. But more importantly, I mean, we just saw eUnited versus Luminosity. That was a highly anticipated set, and for good reason. You have one undefeated team going up against Luminosity, and it's just insane when you think about what could have possibly happened.
Yeah, eUnited didn't get the undefeated split. They were probably hoping for that. But once they lose that game one, they go, okay, you know, the seeding's fine, everything's fine. We're just going to play our game, and they did really well. And LG pulled out a different comp, had fun with it, but didn't pull out the win in the end.
When you saw the Awilix in game number 2 for Luminosity, what was your initial thought process?
My initial thought process, Baskin, I mean, every time he streams, which is about once every decade, he does like playing the Awilix. You know, she's a really fun character, and Baskin in the comms was probably saying, can I please play Awilix? Jeff saying no over and over, and just, you know, he whips it out anyway. But, you know, he played really well. He had like a early game impact, which is what you want out of her.
And that was basically, it seemed like the entire premise for Luminosity's draft in the second game. Whenever you're looking for those duo assassins, you want one that has that hyper clear potential, at least for the laning phase. I think Awilix does a really great job of that because of the AoE damage provided by the Feather Step. So I like the mentality there, but eUnited just seemed to have all the right responses.
Yeah, Awilix is not quite Raijin. You know, you can't do that damage throughout the team fight, and that ultimate is not anything close to the Taiko drums, but when it comes to that, like, you know, Baskin was able to kind of do something different and shock eUnited a bit early.
Yeah, and I think another shocking moment that actually happened for Luminosity there, even though Baskin had the upper hand in some of those cases, was that peel for Venenu actually at the Fire Giant pit. And it was just absolutely insane the way the teamwork actually unfolded for eUnited here.
And Venenu was probably just trusting his team. You know, he's not even looking at the team fight half the time. His team is just kind of carrying him around. Look, that peel is absolutely insane. eUnited's teamwork right there was just exactly what you want out of the top team.
The only thing he's doing the entire time is just spazzing his mouse in every direction, trying to get
Help.
those jukes out.
Help.
The Fire Giant regen as well, I think, assisting him a little bit there. But more importantly, it does go to show just how coordinated eUnited actually is as a squad. And so for this set to have ended up as a split, no real surprises there. I do think that some people might have been anticipating the 2-0 for LG or eUnited, but when you boil it all down, these are just two incredible teams. Really excited to see what they have for us over at Super Regionals.
And I did call the 2-0 for eUnited. I think the game one could have gone either way, but LG played their game perfectly. Like I was saying, if LG's going to win, they have to pull it out. They have to they bleed you dry, win those fights, and kind of just stack up a lead.
And we've talked about the top of the crop, but now we're shifting things a little bit lower. And on the lower end, I mean, we had that
Way
set
lower.
of ALG versus Noble, but
See it.
it was a really interesting set. And I say that because it ended up as a split, but the repercussions that ALG has suffered from splitting with Noble as opposed to getting the 2-0 and the loss in that game number 1 for ALG, that was a brutal one.
Very brutal, very surprising. I don't think going into the split, people would say that ALG was going to be definitely relegated, but going into this Noble set, we had no idea that they were going to be as low as they looked.
It was pretty unfortunate for Allegiance, at least, when the Minions actually came through on that Titan. I just couldn't believe it for a moment because it looked as though Allegiance really wanted to push outside of their base. They had Noble on the run. They had the whole thought process of just maybe looking to wipe them, but the left and right hand creeps just completely destroying that base. I mean, even by the time Met Yankee rotated to try and defend, it still wasn't enough.
One thing I'd like to see is, could we get a slow-mo replay of the minions killing the Titan here? I think this is going to be very important to see. Because we have these fire minions, and, you know, Wubbin does a really great job baiting, and when you have the slow-mo here, yeah, let's check this out. These minions are just doing so much damage to the Titan. Weekend is making a YouTube video as we speak. Losing SPL to minions, new meta? That's what the thumbnail is going to be saying, but we have absolutely no idea why ALG lost that game 1 and had no idea that the minions were flooding into their Titan.
You just couldn't stop yourself, right?
You know I had to do it to him.
You just really let that one go. All right. Well, on the other end of that game, though, believe it or not, that wasn't the only game that happened between those two, even though it's going to be the one that a lot of people remember. ALG turned it around game number 2, took the win on that one.
Yankee turned it around.
Yeah, you're right. Met Yankee actually popped off in game number 2.
Great game bat ahead.
But as